Hi, welcome to Phil's Camping Reviews. My name is Phil. Welcome to a live feed. Now, I've been pretty busy of late, guys. So, it's cooler weather. I've been off putting a lot of projects and jobs because it's been so hot here. But now that the cooler weather has arrived, I'm able to do stuff outside and in the shed, etc., including doing some more maintenance to the camper trailer, and plus making some changes to my setup since I've done the weigh-in. So you would have seen the last couple of videos that I've filmed about the weigh-in there and some of the dramas that I end up having with, probably not surprising, where I thought I would have had the issue with the weigh-in, but surprisingly how much it was over was the rear axle weight on my Pajero. We're over by about 127 kilos. Even though the GVM, the GCM were well under. But that rear axle was overloaded. And a lot of that's to do with the way the forces work. Surprisingly, a lot of you, I know, probably don't believe me when I say this, but I saw the evidence, how true it is. Say you've got a ball weight of 200 kilos. Don't think that's going to translate to 200 kilos on your rear axle of your tow vehicle. Because what happens is that translates 1.5 times on average. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes a little bit less. All depends how long your tow hitch is. Even that, surprisingly, that makes a difference. So how long as that is. So if you go too long, it's going to increase the weight on your rear axle. It's just the way the forces work. So you will need to be careful there. But 200 kilos equates to 300 kilos on your rear axle. And so that put me over by 127 kilos. Now, so what we did during the weigh-in, the beauty of who I used is TT Weigh. Guys, I don't know if I've got the live chat app. I'm not seeing any. For some reason, the chat's not coming up on my screen. I'm not too sure why, but hang on, I lost track. Sorry if you're sending messages. I'm not seeing anything come up on the live chat. I've obviously done something wrong. Now, so the beauty with using TT Weigh, oh, here we go. Bull bar on the front of my Amarok increases the tow ball. Increase? Did you say increase or decrease? Let me talk about that. That's interesting what you just said there. Let me talk about that. I'm going to go into a bit more detail about that. Have we got a lot of backlight in here, guys? Let's see if we can improve. See if I can look a little bit. So, yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? So, you've got to watch out with that. A lot of you are getting filled with that. So don't think you go and get your GVM upgrades on your 4-drive thinking you're still going to be legal, because TT Weigh, as if you haven't watched that video, he's weighed over 1,000 vehicles. 91% of those in some form or another. Hi. How you going? Nags, is it? 91% in some form or another are overweight, and the majority of them are to do with the axle weights. So it's something you've got to be very careful of, is with your axle weights. As I found out, even though Cameron from TTWay told me that my camper trailer is one of the best balanced Ford fold camper he's come across. So there was some Modcon was very smart, very clever how they designed this camper, and I'll tell you shortly. And it's to do with the ball weight, in particular, that ball weight transferring 1.5 times to your rear axle. I'm going to set this up, and well, I'll show you some of the things that makes the huge difference with this camper, why I'm now able to safely, no problems at all, everything's all underweight, but I've had to do some drastic measures that I'm still working on even 2 weeks later. But we had a bout of hot weather, and it just got too hot to work in the shed and outside. Finally, we got a few days of cooler weather's come through, and I'm able to, and what I had to do to get my vehicle 100% legal, including the tow ball weights. So, but yeah, so remember there, that's a big thing. So if you've got a lot of stuff on your ball, on your caravan, camper trailer, whatever trailer you've got, remember that transfers 1.5 times on your rear axle. So a lot of yous out there, probably most of yous, according to Cameron, 91% of yous are probably going to be overweight on those axles, whether it's the front or whether it's the back. So it's quite remarkable how the forces are changed. Even just the height of that tow ball on your camper is very, very, I mean, what's the word? Amazing how much a difference the height can make on the weight that's on your rear axle. Now that depends if you've got a dual axle caravan or you've got a single axle caravan. This is another fact. A lot of you are going to be very surprised in this. And I've seen the evidence. I know what Cameron told me is true. If you've got a single axle trailer, camper trailer, whatever, horse float, caravan, the lower your ball weight, the lower the ball is, the more weight you're going to transfer onto your rear axle. The higher, the less weight you're going to transfer on your rear axle. So yeah, you can adjust the height by going up, but that's not really safe. The ideal is to try to get your trailer level. Okay, you want it level. I see a lot drive around with their, like this. I see heaps. I cannot imagine what sort of strings, the shocks, the tyres, etc. And also another thing you've got to consider too, it's a safety aspect as well. The more weight you got on your rear axle, the less weight you're going to have on your front axle. And it can get to the point where if you've got excessive weight on your rear axle, you then can have not enough weight on your front axle, and your steering will feel very light, and it's very easy to lose control with your front tires if that happens. So there's a lot of safety aspects in this. You know me, when I'd like to do a lot of research and talk to the specialists, you know, the weight and how weights it's transferred and so on. And it's a real eye-opener to see. You know, I could just drive around town and tell straight away, you know, well, that person would be definitely overloaded. Even a lot of you, don't think if you got one of these Land Cruiser 200s or 300s, a lot of them are over by as much as 200-300 kilos on the rear axle, even though they got their GVM upgrades and they're a lot lower, you know, and even they got the GVM upgrades and their GVM is below and their GCM is below, they still can be in a very dangerous situation. So it's a real eye-opener to learn this. It's not something you hear a lot about. Get back to work. No worries, cut some more camper floors. Oh, sweet. That's funny. I've just been doing the same in the back of this, which I'm going to talk about shortly. So you got to really look into that, because it can be very dangerous if you don't get these setups, these weights right. Not only is it dangerous for yourself, but you're putting other people that are doing the right thing on the highway in danger as well. That's what gets me. That's what makes me cranky when I see people that are not doing the right thing. And they're driving, they're coming in the opposite direction, especially in Australian roads. Okay, Australian roads, you know how bad they are. So you got to have a certain, you know, you got to be within specs of your vehicle, and you got to have a certain weight on your bull bar corresponding to what the weight is of what you're towing as well. There needs to be a certain weight. So you can actually go too light. And when you go too light, hi Terry, how you going? And when you go too light, then that can induce what they call a swaying that you see occasionally. If you look on YouTube, occasionally you'll see vehicles that have got this issue with the swaying. And from what I understand, a lot of that is caused from having too light a weight on your tow ball. It can also be from having too much weight on your tow ball, which puts too much weight on your rear axle, which then makes the front axle have a lot less weight on it. So then your front tires are not going to grip on the road as much as what they should be. So that's where the issue is. And for that reason, you should always, when you're towing, you should always have less air pressure on your front tires when you're towing than on the rear tires. As much as anywhere up to 10 psi, depending on how much weight you got on the front. Now, let's say an example. When I first got the weight done, TT weigh, the initial weight and how I got it all set up, that I rocked up, 127 kilo, everything was fine, the GCM was all fine, everything was fine, the trailer was under by 130 or 140 kilos I still had I could play with, and that was with all the fuel tanks full, 200 litres of water, both my water tanks full. And in fact, we'll talk about that water shortly. We'll talk about that placement of your tanks with the water and how you store things in your vehicle. Guys, this is going to be, hey Luke, is that you, Luke? This is going to be a short video, but it's not working out to be a short video by the looks of it. Let me know how Starlink is working. I've meant to turn Wi-Fi off so it'll go to 5G. and I'm on Starlink, so if the signal breaks up, let me know. I'll turn Wi-Fi off and we'll switch over the 5G. But from what I'm hearing, it seems to bloody cool here too, right? Not here. Mate, you wouldn't believe it, Terry. I went uptown and driving around town. I had to put the aircon on in the car. It's pretty warm here. It's just heated up. Just Bundy is just unusual weather this year. It's just crazy how much hotter it is, even than Harvey Bay, which is only about in a straight line. It's probably less than 100 k's away. Now I got a tar of 1,540 kilos, and the max weight I can go in my camper is 2 ton, and the max weight I can go on the bull bar is 250 kilos. So they're basically the specifications that I need to adhere to. The 250 kilos is the maximum of bull weight I can have for my Pajero. That's from the manufacturer's recommendations. And the maximum, well, there's really no maximum bull weight that's listed that can go on the camper trailer, but in general you want to be around 10%. In Australian conditions and so on, it's about 10%. In Europe, I believe they can get away with as low as 5% mass, the ball weight on their towing, on their tow ball, because of the roads are just so much better there. Okay, and frankly, also in Europe, people seem to drive more. They don't seem to be in such a big hurry to get anywhere as they are in Australia, because we got such large distances, and a lot of people are just going way too fast towing, especially with the weights that they are towing behind them. Cool. Now, initially the first weigh-in. Now remember, my Pajero has got no accessories on the outside like a lot of yous have. A lot of yous have got bull bars and winches and big heavy rooftop, even some have got rooftop tents and boats, etc. And you've got your full drawer systems in your fridges and your fridge slides and water tanks and battery setups all inside your vehicle. And a lot of bull bars are over 100 kilos. So I've got none of that on my vehicle except for just 3 roof bars and a 18 kilo solar panel and a little 7 kilo shower tent that I use. So that's bolted on the outside of the vehicle, and it's always been like that. So no bull bar. And yet I was only, now this is weighing my vehicle without the camper trailer. So this is vehicle alone, without the camper trailer. We weighed that with my, the drawer system that I built, I actually took that out, I removed that. And I had the false floor, I had the timber that was made to put my 110 litre upright fridge freezer in it. I had the full-on Victron gear setup, the whole works. And that was all located, and this is another issue I had. All those items were basically located smack bang on top of my rear axle or behind the rear axle, which is just making the problem even worse. But I was only like 20 kilos, no, it's 30 kilos under my maximum weight I was allowed to have on my front axle, which surprised me considering that I didn't have a bull bar. Now, if I had a bull bar on there, I would have been overweight. Now, this is with me inside the vehicle. So all these measurements, all this stuff I've given to you is with a full tank of fuel diesel and with me inside the fridge with food, etc. in there. The rear axle was well and truly under, because remember, this is weight just the 4-drive alone. Okay, this is not the weight including the trailer hooked up to me 4-drive. This is just the 4-drive only weights I'm talking about. So only 30 kilos. I can't remember what the rear axle was under by. I think it was 150 kilos or whatever. I don't know, something. I think it was something like that. And the GVM was well under as well. I think it was under by about 600 kilos or something. So there's so much more I could have stored in there. But I was limited by the rear axle though as well. So even though you might have a fairly high GVM payload like my vehicle has, check your rear axle load limits, guys, because you'll be surprised. A lot of them are quite low, including a lot of yous with your Land Cruiser 200s that get a GVM upgrade. There's 2 types of GVM upgrades for the Land Cruisers, okay? There's your basic one, which I believe is 3200, and there's another one, I can't remember, it's around 3500 or 4200, I don't know. There's two types of GVM upgrades available for your Land Cruisers. Most of you, because of the cost, because the higher one is quite a big jump in price, quite a lot actually. I don't know how much it is, but I've told there's a huge difference. But what they don't tell you when you get these GVM upgrades is that your rear axle weight limit is only increased by 50 kilos when you do the standard GVM upgrades to your Land Cruisers. 50 kilos extra is all you get. And I know a lot of you guys throw in a full-on drawer system. They usually got a big heavy fridge, chest fridge, with your MSA, fridge slides, etc., water tanks. Some of them even have your rooftop tents. A lot of them got a boat on the top, thinking they're all well and truly all good because they've got a GVM, and then hook up a 2.5, 3 ton, or even higher caravan on the back. Mate, you'll be surprised. I've had people get back to me in that situation and said, Phil, my rear axle weight limit was over by 300 kilos plus. And they had to do major weight reduction from the front of the caravan and from particularly inside your vehicle. So this is why, when you look at that, it kind of makes sense why 91% of 1,000 plus that TT has weighed has been overweight in some area or another. Now, so which is quite scary. Now, so let's go back. When we hooked the camper trailer back to the vehicle, and then I had, what was it, about 220 kilos ball weight, went on that. So that 220 times that by 1.5, what's that, 330 kilos extra is added onto my rear axle. But the interesting thing, not only is it added 330 kilos to the rear axle, my front axle was a lot lighter. It went from 30 kilos under the max load limit of front axle to something like 120 or 140 kilos. So, which is quite amazing. And then he suggested to me, under those conditions, when you see in those situations when I'm towing, one of those 50 or 100 kilo bull bars would be absolutely awesome on the back, because what it'll also do is tend to hit your vehicle like this, and it will actually take a bit of weight off your rear axle as well if you've got more weight on the front. But I couldn't do that. There's no way I was going to put a bull bar on there because I don't need one. And honestly, I think most of you don't need one, including winches and that. You don't really need them, depending where you go. So, yeah, so that's something to consider. So he told me that I should put 35 PSI on the front and 45 on the rear. Because when you got less weight on the front, you got less tyres on the road. So lowering the pressure will give you better grip and it'll be a lot safer. So he works all that out for you. So he's got a formula that, depending on what weight your trailer is and what weight your car is, if you get weighed by them, he will tell you, suggest what tyre pressures to put in your caravan, tow, whatever you're towing, and your tow vehicle as well. So we thought, right, so, well, some big changes need to happen. So the beauty with TTWay is they don't really have a time limit. Like we work 4.5 hours. Normally it doesn't take that long, but because we're doing so much filming, if you haven't seen the video, it's well worth watching when I got the weigh-in done. So make sure after this live video, go check that out. There's a lot of information there, a lot of information there. In fact, that video got 2,000 views within 24 hours. 2,000 views. I've never had that many views on a video within the first day before. This one was just skyrocketing, which is awesome. So then we put the camper trailer on my Pajero, and then after we did all that, we took 2 jerry cans. I had 3 jerry cans of diesel, 2 jerry cans and 1 diesel heater tank on the front of my camper trailer. So Cameron asked, do you need them? And I said, well, no. And I said, well, one I want to keep. I want to keep one for the diesel heater. I don't need another jerry can to take with me. So we took them out, and I told him, remember I got one of my jerry cans, 20-litre jerry cans, modified as a tank for my diesel heater? Well, I told Cameron I don't want to remove that. I don't want to muck around with this little stainless steel AU Focus tank, because to be honest, it is very poor quality. Within no time, it started leaking a bit. The lid started rusting, even though it's supposed to have been stainless steel. The diesel tanks on these AU Focus diesel heaters are crap. But I've been told that they realised that, and the newer ones you buy now are much improved. Much improved. That thing there, you only got to touch it and it literally puts a dent to it. The stainless is so thin on that. So I said, well, I want to take that off and I want to leave a 20-litre on there, and that's what we did. And then I also thought they've got 2 gas tanks on the front, so I took one out. I don't need the 2, just the 1. Although sometimes, to be honest, I'm going to try to work the weights around. I think I can now put an extra gas tank on. I prefer to have the 2 gas tank. They're only 4.5 litres. There's nothing worse when you're cooking and you run out of gas on one tank. Well, at least if you've got a full tank, you swap over to that, another tank, and then when you're near a town somewhere, you can get the other one refilled. And that's how I like to work on that. Otherwise, I could always store it somewhere at the back here, inside the camper, depending where I go. So I can always stand there. And that's going to have some advantages by putting it at the back of the camper. So we took that out, and you wouldn't believe it. It knocked off about 30 kilos of weight on my rear axle. So that got it down to 91 kilos, I think it is. So then what we did, and he wanted to show me the effects of loading more stuff on the back on the camper trailer, because my ball weight was sitting on around 11% at the time, which is ideal. The best ball weight to have range is between 9 to 11% here for Australian conditions. So mine was about 11, so I was able to afford to take a bit less weight off the ball bar. So also by removing that, my ball bar literally dropped down to something like 185 kilos or thereabouts, from 220 kilos by removing those 3 tanks, 1 gas tank and 2 tanks of jerry on the front. Amazing the difference that made. So that got me down to 91 kilos, still overloaded. So then he showed an example. He said, well, your camper trailer is well under the maximum, even though it was fully loaded and everything, 200 kilos of water, was well under, so I can afford to put extra weight in there. So we grabbed those 2 tanks and put them right at the back of the camper trailer, and that dropped it, took another 20 kilos. That's it, 20 kilos off the rear axle weight. So now that got me down to 71 kilos. So just by moving that out. So then straight away I told him, I guess I'm going to have to take everything out of the back of my camper. And virtually when I go camping, guys, I need to have nothing in the back of my Pajero. And to be honest, guys, I don't need to have anything in the Pajero. I've got a camper trailer, everything's there. Now, I am still going to have a very simple setup in there. I've got that 100 amp hour lead time battery that I've mounted in the car, and I've got a little, only weighs like 10 kilo, one of those Brass Monkey fridge freezers, and I've put that in there. But now they're located behind behind the passenger seat, or the driver's seat. So the weight is not directly on the rear axle, it's in front. So basically when I'm towing, I can't have any weight on top of the rear axle behind. So what that means, everything has come out of my Pajero, everything. And most of you are probably sitting there, oh my gosh, Phil, that's terrible. What did you do? You had that beautiful setup in there. Guys, to tell you the truth, it's quite a relief to have got rid of all that stuff. I've got my vehicle back now. I can go grocery shopping and not jam things everywhere. I had no room to put anything. If I went uptown and bought something, I'd have to call me brother with his ute to go and pick it up. Now, at least now, I can do a trip to the dump or whatever. I've got my vehicle back, and it's amazing just how much better it drives without all that weight in the back as well. So it's a God blessing, actually, to tell you the truth. And to tell you the truth, ever since I bought my camper trailer a year ago, I always wanted to move all my Victron gear out of the vehicle into the camper trailer. So this gave me a big kick up the backside and hurried me up. And that's what I've been working on the last couple of weeks. So I've just been busy in the shed here doing the projects, etc. But while I was working on that, now another interesting thing, when I took everything out, I thought my battery and all the gear and everything in there would have been about 50 kilos, but I weighed everything as I took it out the back. Now remember, all this stuff that I took out on my tow vehicle, the Pajero, the Victron gear, my 110 upright fridge, yep, they had to go. It's in my house now. I use that as a spare fridge, drinks fridge. It's perfect for that. My false floor, etc. The drawer system. In fact, before I did the weigh-in, I took that drawer system out. And let me tell you, that drawer system, I reckon there's like 35 kilos of weight in there. So, if I had the weight, I would have been over by an extra 30. I would have been like 170 kilos over on that axle weight. In fact, talking about that, you know, we did the Gombaro trip last August, and I went away for 3 weeks, and mate, I cannot imagine what sort of weight load I must have had on that rear axle on those trips. It would have been scary, mate. Probably lucky I didn't snap an axle, actually. Yeah, probably lucky I didn't, especially on that road that goes to Gombaro campground. You know how rough it is and wavy? Oh boy, oh boy. I'm probably lucky I didn't break anything. I cannot imagine what sort of weights on. I had so much stuff that I took that I didn't use. And I had clothes that would have been 20 kilos of clothes inside that drawer as well. So that, and I had stuff inside there, stored inside that vehicle like you, mate. I would have been so severely overweight without realising that vehicle. My camper trailer would have been all right, but that vehicle, I had so much in there. So luckily I got away with that. It was a real eye-opener. I didn't know I would have, and not only that, in the front of my camper trailer, I had more stuff in there. I had tables stuck there. I had chairs stuck in there. I had, I don't know why I brought it along, but I had a shower tent all sitting right up the front, which is that, all that weight, total that up, that's also going to be 1.5 times more on. So she would have been well over probably 250 kilos overweight on that rear axle on that 3 weeks trip. So, wow, that was an eye-opener. That's roughly what I guess at least it would have been. So big lesson learned here, guys. Big lesson learned here. Everything's good now. I hope so. It looks like it all is now. So I took the fridge out, and it weighs 29 kilos, thereabouts. Actually, I should have a graph. I got a piece of paper somewhere here with all the weights on it. I was going to do a video on it. I wrote all the weights down. Let's just bear with me, guys. Just let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So, let's go through the weights of stuff that I took out. My false floor was 12 kilos. The PowerPour battery is 30 kilos. The fridge box was 18 kilos. The Lynx distributor, which is like a fuse box for the Victron, was 2 kilos. My solar regulator, my solar charger was 1.5 kilos. My Egon DC hub is 1.5 kilos. My Serbo GX and the turn power on switch off was a kilo. The instrument panel and screen was 1 3/4 kilos. The cables, just the cables alone for the shunt and all that, was 3.25 kilograms. And my Multi Plus the cables was 15 kilos. This is the stuff that I took out that was sitting directly above my axle rear axle, or most of it, was behind the rear axle, which exaggerated even more the forces on that rear axle. It's a total of 86 kilos, nearly 90 kilos. I thought it was 50. So you work out your mass there. Just by doing that, I'm now at least 20 kilos under. So at least 20 kilos, as long as I don't put anything there. Now, I think it'll be more than 20 kilos, probably be more like 30 kilos under now. Now, I do want to get that down even further, so I can put more camping where to design your camper trailer. I've got a huge storage area on the camper trailer that's halfway between the ball weight, exactly halfway between the ball weight and the axle of the camper trailer. So that means, say I put 20 kilos in that storage, 10 kilos is going to be shared by the axle on the camper, and 10 kilos will be on the ball weight. So instead of having the whole 20 kilos right up the front near your ball, which then translates to 30 kilos on your rear axle, well, then 20 kilos I put in that storage area is then going to translate to 10 kilos on your ball weight, which then translates to 15 kilos on your rear axle, because you times that by 1.5, okay? So instead of it, so it's actually, the design is really, really good that way. So what I decided to do, instead of running a fridge, a big fridge in the back of the car, I'm going to stick, I didn't have a fridge in the camper trailer when I went away on that 3-week trip. Guys, this was going to be a short video. Guys, can you just excuse me so I can go grab a chair? I won't be long. Oh man, I've been on my feet for so long today. Freaking losing feelings in my legs. Let's just move this over. Oops, hang on. I'll leave this there. Let's move this down a bit like this. Is that better? Okay, I forgot where I was up to. What was I talking about, guys? So, yeah. So what I've done is I've now, when I got the camper trailer, it came with this all-in Ice Cube 65 litre dual zone fridge. And apparently it's a very good fridge. I did check some reviews on it, and it's top notch apparently. So it came with the camper, so I'll put that back in there. That's going to be enough, so that'll be perfect. I'll be able to run one part as a freezer and the other as a fridge. Now, actually no, I did have a fridge in there. I had that 10 or 12 kilo Brass Monkey 25 kilo that I mentioned when I did the weigh-in, and it was half full of food. So I've actually removed that, and in its place I put the Ironman fridge freezer, which weighs around 29 kilos. So yeah, I've actually added probably about to the front there. I probably would have added, because remember it's 10, 15, let's say 15, 20, 29, let's say 30, probably about 15 kilos. What I did there would have added about 15 kilos of weight, and that's stocked up with food to the rear axle. So that's a lot better than having that in the vehicle, where it would have put that maximum probably like 35, 40 kilos right on that rear axle. So moving it to the proper compartment where the fridge was has actually reduced dramatically the load on my vehicle. That's the opposite that I thought would have happened. Hence why I took the bigger fridge out of the vehicle and added and used the big fridge in the back. And unfortunately, that 110 litre was way at the back. It couldn't even be further back on my vehicle, as well as me heavy 30 kilo Powerpole battery. Mind you, it's not heavy if you compare it to lead acid type batteries, because it's 330 amps capacity in that. So it's not too bad when you consider equivalent, equivalent to something like that. You'd have to go, oh man, it'll be like hundreds of kilos, 150, 200 kilos to get the same capacity with a lead acid battery. How scary is that? Yeah, at least. So, yeah, so there's a lot of maths comes into it, guys, a lot of maths. And yeah, I enjoy stuff like that. So I weigh everything now, and I've got a weight of everything. And so I know what stuff weighs when I put it back in the vehicle. So I've got a general idea what way I'm at, and I've got a pretty good idea of how the weight now is transferred to my rear axle by where I'm locating the items, okay? And that's a big thing, because the more stuff you load behind the axle of your tow camper, caravan, whatever you're towing, the less weight you're going to have on on your front tow ball. And remember, that's going to have a dramatic effect on the rear axle weight of your vehicle. So we did a trial, and those two jerry cans, a diesel and the I think I mentioned it before, and the gas bottle, we put them right on the direct back, and that took quite a fair bit of weight on the back. Now, this is where you have to be careful how you set up your tow camper, caravan, whatever, how you load your vehicle. Now, you can go to the extent of being too light on the front, and you can go too heavy. So you want to work on an ideal percentage weight. So the percentage weight, so say your caravan weighs 2 tonne, you want to be between 9 and 10% of that weight on your bull bar. Now, when I say bull bar, I mean bull bar, not behind or a few inches behind the bull bar. You got to get that weight directly on the bull bar, because your bull bar is going to have more weight on it than it will the further you go back. Even if you just go back 6 inches or foot, there's quite a bit of difference there. So a lot of yous tend to weigh your bull bars with these cheap, things you buy for $60, $70, and then whack them behind the bull bar, not directly under the bull bar itself. And not only are you doing that, they're also not very accurate as well. You'll be lucky if they're accurate to within 10 to 20%. Mine is accurate to within about 10%. But it kind of gives you a pretty good idea anyway. It does assist, it does help. So you're better off getting it professionally weighed. It's really worthwhile. And when you think about it, the knowledge that you gain and the safety, and plus you'll remove any chances that if you do have an accident, that your insurance company, I mean, they're going to look for ways. You can tell me anything you want, but insurance companies are there to try and make money. They're there to make money, okay? Their goal then is to see how you pay them money for insurance, you put a claim in. First thing they do is try to find a way to get out of paying you, all right? Because they're there to make money, all right? They're not there for you. They're there to make money. Because if they don't make money, they won't be doing this, okay? They want their big dollars, you know? They want their big $1 million homes overlooking the lakes and so on, etc. You know, how do you think people afford this stuff like that, you know, basically? So you want to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. Luckily, mostly what they check is the GCM. They generally don't check the weights of the axles yet, but that could come in effect. I know a story once where I heard from someone who had an accident with the caravan, and after the accident they couldn't touch anything. They couldn't take any clothes, nothing away, because the insurance company came in and they weighed everything, and he was over the GCM and he didn't get covered. He got nothing. So he lost his vehicle, caravan, the whole works. So that's what they're mainly going to rely on, is your GCM. They're not going to sit there and try to work out, oh, how much axle weight did you have on that rear axle? So, yet. But still, it's for safety-wise, guys. Safety-wise as well, particularly on the roads. Less broken axles and that. How many times do you hear about broken axles? Now, so it's all to do how you store your vehicle. Now, the unique thing about these Modcons, and Cameron from TT Way mentioned this as well, is where they've got the water tanks located. All right, so let's move the camera and have a look over here. Okay, so you see me Modcon there. Okay, there is a 120 litre tank right there behind the rear axle. There is another 80 litre tank right here behind, right at the very back, behind the rear axle. There are 2 heavy wheels, tyres, right at the rear axle. So a lot of the weight has been designed to sit on that rear axle to help with that axle weight limits. He told me this is one of the best of the camper trailers. Weight, a lot of thought has gone into this, the setup, because he said your camper trailer is perfectly, I mean, side to side, it was within like 4 or 5 kilos. They were that. So he said your camper trailer is absolutely perfect. The weight ratio, everything on it is just ideal. So yeah, which brings an interesting point. Which brings another very interesting point. I hope you guys are not bored with this. Let me know if you find this boring. If you do, I'll end the live feed now. If you want me to keep going, let me know if you're happy to. Now, 200 kilos is sitting at the back behind that, which assists in taking an enormous load of weight off the front of that camper, especially off the rear axle. So we did an experiment when I was with TT Way, and this is the beauty that they offer this extra service. That's why generally they don't have a restriction on how much time. Generally it's a minimum 2 hours, can be up to 3 hours usually. We were working on this for 4.5 hours that day, only because all the different weighing and options we were trying, and not only that, the filming. Okay, we lost probably an hour of time filming there, doing the filming. So my question is, and I asked him this, well, what's going to happen with those tanks that are empty? He says, Phil, that's a good question. He says, let's try an experiment. So we emptied the rear tank, and guys, I can't recall what the numbers are now. I have to get the papers printed out. They sent to me on a PDF document. My printer needs ink, and each coloured ink's like $300, so I didn't bother about it. So I'll take it uptown one day, Officeworks, and get it printed out. I can't remember the exact numbers, but we took off 80 litres off the rear tank, and that added quite considerably, quite a lot of weight back onto my rear axle on the Pajero, which I think of something like it was back up to 96 kilos or something, or whatever. And then we emptied the 120 litre tank, and then we were back up to the 130 kilos. So emptying both those tanks put about 60 kilos of weight back on my rear trailer. So basically, what we're going to do now is, generally how I was running this is I used to always try to use the water out of the rearmost tank, the 80 litre tank first, and then use the water in the 120 litre. I've got to opposite that now. I've got to try to keep as much weight directly at the back, so I've got to use the 120 litre tank first, and then use the 80 litre tank, and as soon as I can, fill both tanks up again, which is generally not a problem really. Otherwise I'd have to bring more weight towards the back, and I can do that, guys. I can. I've got room in the back, inside, just at the back door, where I can add more weight in there. And in fact, the 30 kilo PowerPole battery, the Mercury battery, 330 amp hour battery I've got now, is right at the very back of the camper, under the seat, the big seat. So that weight's right up the front, as well as all my Victron gear. It's all, a couple of components are on top of the axle, but the rest is all behind. So that's going to assist me with getting the load off there as well. So if I've got like bottles of water, you know, where I usually keep them in the back of the car, I can store them, you know, like you buy your containers, they've got 24 or 30 or 600 ml waters. I can store them inside my camper at the back, which will help a lot to do that. So this is the knowledge that you gain, you learn when you get a professional weigh-in done, especially someone who's willing to put the extra time and help you while you're doing the weigh-in, while the vehicle is on the scales, rearrange weights. So you don't have to go home and just guess, you know, look live and say, oh, you're going to have to take 200 kilos out of there, and then go home and then wondering whether that's done the effect and what sort of effect they do. Well, he helps you to move things around. So, but I've got another idea, and Stephen, if you're watching this, this is an idea he came up with. He told me one day, Phil, he says, have you ever had a flat tyre in your Pajero? And I said, well, no. He said, then why don't you take the rear wheel, the rear spare, because it is probably located on my Pajero. It is probably located on my Pajero right at the way back. Right at the back. Okay, it's on the tailgate door. So I'm probably looking at 27, 28 kilos there. So that 27, 28 kilo, because it's so far behind the rear axle, the same effect as what you get with the trailer on your tow ball is you're getting on that rear axle, because it's so far away and it's pivoting down. So instead of being 30 kilos, there's probably 40 kilos sitting on that rear axle. Now, if I get rid of that, that is going to rectify any issues that I will ever have. So he said, why don't you just store it on the back of your camper? But I said, Steve, I can't, my back. It's too much work for me. I can't do it. I saw Steve just give a thumbs up. But Stephen, I've got another idea. Now that I've taken everything out of that vehicle, is there any reason why I cannot store that spare wheel inside the vehicle behind the driver's seat? Because I've removed, luckily the Pajero, the second row seats are split. You got a single seat and you got a two-seater. And that's another thing I've done, guys. It's very rare that I ever take more than 3 people in my Pajero. It just never happens. There's always mainly 2 most of the time. Actually, most of the time it's just myself. But very rare I have 3. So I've taken the heavier 2-seater out and I put the single 1-seater in. And another thing too, now that I've got that single 1-seater in, it's a lot lighter. I'm able to, it's just like 4 bolts, undo 4 bolts, remove that. So when I go away on a big camping trip and I'm on my own, or there's only just 2 of us, I can take that seat out, and that's going to take even less weight out of my vehicle. But there's no reason why I cannot take the spare wheel off and put it inside the vehicle in front of the axle, which means then that 35 kilos or whatever, I think 30 kilos, odd kilos I've worked out roughly that's going to weigh, is going to be shared between the front axle and the rear axle. And that's also going to remove the fact that because the spare wheel is located so far at the back behind the, it's going to reduce that 40 kilo that I've roughly worked out load on my rear axle from that spare tyre down to probably about 15 or so kilos. So it's going to save and further 25 kilos. Now, I've got to be careful doing this because there's such a thing as you can actually go too light on the rear of your vehicle. So, yeah, I have to be careful I don't go too lightweight on the rear of my tow vehicle, if that's such a thing. I'm going to get this reweighed after I've completed the transfer of all the gear, the Victron gear, into the camper trailer. It's taken me a bit longer because there's other maintenance I had to do. So I'm going to get it reweighed and I'm going to learn all this, and then I'll know exactly what I've got to play with. So, but I've had to replace the flooring, the ply. So my camper trailer's got like 1.5 mil or whatever galvanized sheeting on top of the frame, and then on top of that it's got a 1/2 inch ply, and then on top of that it's got lino stuck down. Bright person, whoever did it, the guy who originally bought this, decided to put a full-on safe inside the camper. This thing is pretty heavy too, full-on safe, proper safe. Okay, and he bolted it through the floor. And unfortunately, when he bolted it through the floor, he got 4 bolts there. He didn't waterproof it, or if he did, he didn't waterproof it enough. So over the years, water has got into there and it's rotted the plywood out. I've already replaced some of it, but I noticed when I went to go fit the battery in, and I noticed there was one part, the floor was really squashy, and I checked and it was just soaked, saturated with the water. The rot that's just spread right through. So I've had to basically remove all the flooring out of there, apart from that galvanized sheet in there, and make up a new flooring. This time what I've done, I've patched up all the holes that was left there. I patched all them up so there's no way water will get through again. Got rid of that stupid safe, but I did that as soon as I bought it. And I patched those holes up, but by then damage was already done. Not only that, the plywood, I got thick epoxy and did 2 thick coats of it over it. And then I stuck glue down with good waterproof heavy duty glue and put on a really nice lino on the top. Now luckily I had some mates who helped me out. Like there was a guy who had some epoxy. Mark, if you're watching, thank you very much. He actually donated the proper epoxy for me. So thanks guys for doing that. You see here it's got a timber preserver. It's got a base and a hardener. Okay, full on proper epoxy. So I covered everything of that with epoxy. And to make sure it'll never get any water damage, I waited till that dry. And it's also glued down with proper silicone, marine silicone as well, as if it was like on a boating. I basically treat it as if it was a boat. As if it was a boat. Because I want to make sure that will never happen again. So only yesterday I completed that. I put the lino down. I went to a flooring shop and just picked up some lino that was off-cut. And they basically just sold it with me with the glue. They had a bit of glue, the good quality glue left over, and they sold that to me for $15. Timber I picked up for $40. So basically I replaced that whole floor for 55 bucks. Bargain. So that was awesome. Just that epoxy. This here is worth, how much is it? Still had the price on it. $80. There's still a bit left in there. So I've still got enough to do more stuff. So Mark, thank you so much for donating that epoxy to me. It actually helped a lot. And so it's great. So right now, I'm waiting for the glue to set for the, so probably either Sunday or Monday, most likely Monday, I will start doing some wiring. The battery's already installed in there, my multi-plus is already installed in there, and I'm just getting the fuses and the other parts and the wires ready. I got to put back in there. As soon as that's done, I'm off. I'm going camping somewhere because I can't wait. I haven't camped for quite a while. I've been waiting for the cooler weather, and it's finally arrived. So, yeah, so that's basically it, guys. I can't think of anything else to think about. Any of you want to have a look at the flooring on my camper? Let me know. Do you want to have a look? So, yeah, I'm basically done. Let's just, hello. Let me show you. Oh, it's pretty dark in here. Mate, this camp is unreal how it's, let me try to swap lens over. It's pretty dark in here. See if you can see. See the new flooring, guys? How nice does that look? This is Turbo GX, the brains of the Victron gear. How awesome does that look? So that's basically about, what, 1.6 meters long by 750 mils wide, that lino. And there what you see here. But then it also continues under here as well. So, yeah. So have another look at my camper here. You can see the 120 litre main water tank and behind that rear axle. You can see now I've only got the one tank here. That's for the diesel. One gas bottle. I tell you what also made a big difference is getting rid of the ARC 750 for one of these guys. A lot of yous running those ARC 750s. No good, mate, no good. They're too heavy. They're too heavy. It's 18 kilos, 19, so 20 kilos. That one of mine was 20 kilos. That was adding an extra, now mind you, that's the ball there. So about 1.5 foot behind. So if that 20 kilos was on the ball, that would have added 30 kilos on the, well, it would actually. It does actually, because that weight is actually on the ball. Now, but it's way back here, so instead of adding 30 kilos, it probably would have translated to about 25 kilos I saved. So just getting rid of that, I've taken 25 kilos off the rear axle on my vehicle. And you're thinking, but what about the weight of this? But look, it's removable. So what I do now is I take that off. That only weighs about 6 or so kilos. I take that off. I can store that up the front, the footwell of the front passenger seat or behind the passenger seat, or I can even store it way at the back of the camper. Now, let me show you before we leave. Let me show you. It's a bit of a mess in here, but she's empty, guys. Everything is out. It was the only way, guys, I was going to reduce to make this legal, is to get everything out of that vehicle. And to be honest, it's not an issue. I cannot ever see myself going camping without this camper trailer. It'll be with me all the time. And if I do, then I'll just grab my Austrol swag thing, whatever they call the bunker, throw that in the back of the vehicle and go camping with that. Show the front passenger seat. There's nothing in the front passenger seat, Terry. It's the front passenger seat is empty. I don't know what you're talking about. It's the driver's side. Oh, especially in the middle between the two seats. Oh my God. I'm not even going to talk about it. Terry knows what I'm talking about. Well, that's it, guys. How long have we been going for? 75 minutes. Oh my gosh. All right. I need to go in the house and go and have a drink. So hopefully this video is entertaining. No, I'm not going to show that, Terry. I'm not going to show that part of my vehicle. Yeah, It's a little bit messy. I'm not saying any more. No way. That will never happen. Never. No chance. Zilch. Nothing. No chance. Even if you paid me. I wouldn't show any more of what's inside that vehicle. Now, another thing that... one more thing. Because Cameron suggested, because I've still got like well over 100 kilos spare that I can add to my camper trailer. The back of my camper trailer's got another one of those hitch points. He said you could get a bracket made up with 2 jerry can holders and carry like 40 litres of water in there. So with the weight, including the bracket, you could be looking at 50 kilos added further and add onto the back, which then will allow me, that'll take further weight off the front bull bar. But if I don't add additional weight there, I'm going to be too light then. So then I will have to compensate by adding more stuff to the front of my camper trailer. Otherwise it's going to be dangerously too low and you'll have the potential of the swaying. So that's the only thing. If I do that, I must add more weight. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I need to. So I think what I need to do is relocate my spare wheel and strap it down very safely with lots of straps down behind one of the front seats to get that weight, because that's going to take an additional 25 kilos off the back. If I work the mass out, oops, I just accidentally left the frog escape. Oh boy, Terry's probably gagging and choking by now. Oh, that's neat out. Oh, I've been holding that in since we started talking. That's embarrassing. Did you hear it? I was going to save it for you, Terry. Where'd we go? You're safe now, Terry. I was going to save it for you when we go on talking on the messenger. Oh, there was like about 2 or 3 in a row that bursted out. Oh, look, I just dropped 2 people. Oh my gosh, 2 people just locked off. Oh, they must have really dared. Well, I tried to hold on, guys. It just came out. I got one more person that came back on. I held on for a long time. You must admit, I did pretty well there. Terry's going. Terry be gagging right now. So yeah. So I'm going to do videos about this, edited videos. But guys, I just want to finish off all these projects I've got. And one project I'm working on, actually, let's move the camera around. It's a wonder my camera's not, battery's not flat. Okay. Okay. You know how I love working with model boats. gained a real interest how I built the Bismarck, I built the Black Pearl, and I built the Titanic, and I'm now building the HMS Victory. And wow, wow, wow. What an impressive ship that is. It's all made out of mostly balsa wood and bits of metal, so there's no 3D printing in this one like the others I've done. Although a couple of parts are missing that I will need to do some 3D printing. So I've got a fair bit of stuff here in this box here, model stuff, modeling tools, scalpels, paintbrushes, some paints, brassos, glues, bits of little pieces for the ship that needs to go on there. And it's got to the point where there's not much stuff in there, I can't find anything, so I went to a discount shop and got these little drawers. So now I'll be able to add some stuff in here, like these scalpels. There's one section for the knives. There's one with the brush. I just go through and put all these little brushes. There's some paint brushes here, too big. Here's another scalpel. So there's some tools, handheld little drill bits here. I bought 2 of these. So I just got to a point, I've got no idea what's in here. Here's some twist drill bits that go with that. There's some blades for the scalpel. So let's put all these blades to go with this. This is probably a bit boring for you guys right now, I'd imagine. There's some Dremel tool things. I don't need to. What have we got here? Some thumbtacks, there's some glue there. There's bits and pieces of the boat here. Scissors. Guys, wait till you check out this ship that I'm building at the moment. You guys are going to be in awe. Just absolutely amazing. Look at this parts of the ship here. These parts of the ships, I could have tools in that one. I could have the parts of the ship in this one here. I'll get one of these scalpels out. Is there anyone still watching? Are you bored yet? I just went to one of those cheap shops. It's going to take me a while to complete. Oh, it's upside down. It's going to take me a while to complete this ship. There is a lot. Let me tell you, when I say a lot, there is a lot. These are parts for the, I have no idea what they are. Well, they'll be in the plan somewhere. What else have I got here? Alright, these are more parts for the ship. So what I wanted to see is what's underneath all this. I have no idea. I think that's some wood stain. There's a little special saw. I actually got something, where is it? I ordered a little portable little hand planer. And it just arrived today. I haven't even opened it yet. What is the time, guys? Here it is here. David Combi planer. Because I've got some masks I need to plane off. There it is. How cute is that? That is beautiful workmanship. Does that fit in one of these drawers? Yeah, it does too. Oh, no, it's too high, it doesn't close. Well, if I take it out the box. Yeah, it fits now. There's the blades. And I've got some other spare blades here. Hey, Terry? Hey, Terry? Hey? Hey, Terry be going B, I'll go C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Hey. What else have we got? Some little sanding stuff here. It's amazing how much a difference that's made already. So what have we got under here? So this ship that I made is a lot of the components, it's all laser etch. Oh, I can't get close to the camera. It's all laser cut. So these are some of the pieces that's already. So there's some pieces in here that I've still got to use. Oh, there's still a lot of stuff in here. Look, a little screwdriver. A bit of glue, pencil, rubber, glue. Just drill bit. Lots of screws here. There's some more planks here. And there's also some copper. So this ship, on the half of it in the bottom, it's got 3,000 of these copper. That's full, that's 100% copper. There's 3,000 of these glued onto the bottom half of the ship, and that's all been completed. There's some left over there. How awesome is that? Here's some more parts to go with the ship that I need to get some more little. Okay. Well, that's a vast improvement already. Well, those just little tiny things that just don't have room for. Oh, I wondered where these got to. Oh, I bet you these are the planks for the stairs. These are the steps. Oh, cool. So I need to, that'll be them. They would go into, let me see if they fit. Where are the steps? They were in one of these. Didn't I put them in here somewhere? No, they're not there. That's not them. They're in the box there with the others with the plans. So this is quite a amazing ship. That's cool. Let me, before we log off, let me show you what we're talking about, what we're doing. 1.3 meters long, guys. Let me change. .3 meters long, over 1 meter high. Something like 80 meters of, is it 80 meters? I think it's more than 80 meters of rigging. So basically, all this part has been completed, except for the decking. There's a fair bit of details on the decking that needs to go on, as you see here, like so. Which I'm working on now at the moment. And then I've got to make these lifeboats. I'm going to put all this on here. And then I've got to do all the masts. And then start the rigging. And the sails, that'll come afterwards. But that's the back of it. You see very fine details. So this is the HMS Victory. I don't know if any of you know about this one. It's built in around 1759 or 1760. I think it was 1759 this was built in England. And this will blow you away. It still exists today, guys. It still exists today. This was the famous ship that one Captain Commander Nelson on the Royal British Navy. So it's a British Navy ship, Royal Navy ship. This is the one that won the famous Trafalgar Battle in 1805, I believe. 1805, I believe. The famous Trafalgar Battle, where the French Napoleon tried to invade and take over England. And this was the main ship, the number one ship that won that war, that saved Britain back in 1805. So this ship still exists today. It's at Southern England at the Maritime Museum, and you can go on board. Over 100 cannons. It's just 840 men that worked on this ship, and over 100 cannons. Look at that, imagine that going off all at once. They are all cannons, all these little doors you see. So, quite amazing. That's all those little individual copper plating. As I mentioned, most of this part's all complete. got all this to do. And then this is going to be a laborious task, tying all that. That's real rope. So I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, how long have we been online for? 95 minutes. I wasn't planning on going this long. What is the time, guys? I don't know what time it is. I'm going to have to go now. Oi. I'll have to leave because I've got to start cooking. I have no idea what time it is. I can't see the time on my clock on my phone. So, till next time, eh? Cheers. See yous. Bye.